The date was April 16th of 2026. A day where many different games were being released at the same time, such as Windrose, a survival craft game focused around pirates, and Pragmata, a Dead Space shooting and hacking kind of game. But one game happened to string me along with its unique visuals and mechanics that also paid homage to classic cartoons from the 1920s. A game called Mouse P.I. for Hire, created by Fumi Games and Playside Studios, whose previous works focused around short film animations before making their first game. Liking what I saw of the game, I threw the developers some cheddar for the game on Steam and played through the entire game in order to make a review for you all. So strap in, folks, and prepare yourself for another cheesy, spoil-free gaming guy review. Let's talk about Mouse P.I. for Hire. Mouse P.I. is a game with such a unique visual and art style. From the characters being all hand-drawn from many different angles, to the guns having fun and rubbery designs. Fumi Games worked real hard on this game, and it shows when it comes to the visuals, and honestly, they made it pop out so well. I love Mouse P.I.'s visuals, and also the sound design for this game is very well done. It helps give this game a nice 1920s vibe, even more so if you want to change your settings to a more classic style, like how TVs were back in the day with the constant static and lines shown everywhere. It's honestly crazy to see that this was technology back in the day. To not spoil much of the game's story, Mouse P.I. takes place in a city called Mouseburg. You play as a mouse character named Jack Pepper, a private investigator for hire. Tasks to solve cases happening throughout town. You can get new cases or learn more about the world from special characters like the bartender John Brown, political character Cornelius Stilton, news reporter Wanda Fuller, and Tammy Tumbler, who runs a bang business.
Oh, behave.
No, not that kind of bang. Bang!
Ballistics, augmentation, and noteworthy gains.
She's practically a guns expert. I also enjoyed the voice acting throughout this whole entire game, with Troy Baker being our main character, and other voice actors like Helen Phillips, Fred Talascore, Frank Totaro, and Cameron Grimes. And by looking at a couple of actors' IMDb's, this looks like their first ever video game role, so good on them. Besides all that, there's not really much case solving that you have to do in this game. Cases are just a way to get you to the next levels and understand what's going on in the game. So if you're wanting a more LA Noire kind of playstyle, you're not really going to get it here. The big cheese of this game comes from the levels themselves, as you'll run into many different locations with lots of fun boss fights, Easter eggs, and levels with fun and unique designs. Speaking of cheese, why is cheese and wine always paired together? I'm a little curious about that, so I'm going to go get me some cheese and wine while I explain the movement in this game. Mouse P.I. is a game that has fast-paced movement with lots of different ways to move around throughout the game, like the ability to dash and to slide crouch at the beginning of the game. As you play the game, you'll learn new abilities that will help increase your movements, such as double jumping, hovering with your tail, hookshotting with your tail, and also wall running and wall mounting. Though you can only run and mount on certain walls, mainly marked with this little white paint, most of your movement abilities will take up a bit of your stamina. As you play, your stamina bar will always recharge after doing certain actions. This also goes for physical attacks like your standard fist, or a kick that can briefly stun your enemies. I do wish that Mouse P.I. does allow you to use your wall running and wall mounting abilities a little more, because it doesn't really feel like you do a whole lot of it, but it's nothing to really lose sleep over. However, what I will lose sleep over is how much cheese truly costs in this kind of market. There ain't no way I'm going to buy myself a big cheese wheel for a little bit on YouTube. No way. So we're sticking with this lovely little sucker. And I hope that this is enough to fool the YouTube censors. Oh, before I fully forget, let's also talk about lockpicking real quick. Lockpicking is something you'll be doing often, whether it's to open up a safe or a door with a huge lock on it. It's also not really that difficult to do. Your main objective is to get to the other side while navigating through a little maze throughout the whole entire minigame. Some of these locks will require you to open it within an amount of time, or even have a couple of spikes as a hazard. But the lockpicking is pretty simple and easy. The only time I ever actually failed lockpicking was by accidentally closing out of the minigame. When it comes to the weapons in this game, the game has a lot of different unique weapons that you'll get throughout your playthrough. You'll start off with your standard fists, but after a little while and after collecting a few guns, you're honestly going to forget about your fists and just use other kind of weapons instead, until you accidentally switch back to it when opening up your weapons wheel or something. Your first gun in the game will be the Meiser, which is your standard pistol that can help clear out small rooms, and after upgrading it, you can fire a 3-round burst to keep tougher enemies off you. Another weapon you can get in this game is the Boomstick, which is your basic shotgun that can get the job done up close, but does feel a little weaker later into the game. It does have a secondary fire mode where it charges up a heavy shot that uses 2 rounds to deal more damage. Kinda like the concussion shot from Doom 2016. One of my favorite weapons that I liked was the Devarnisher, an acid firing weapon that would slowly burn your enemies hotter than melted nacho cheese. This weapon does a really good job in taking out enemies, as it usually would only need 1 shot to take out simple enemies, and at most 3 shots for bigger foes. This weapon can also stagger enemies while they're burning, so it's great for crowd control too. This does have a secondary fire mode that allows you to fire a big glob of acid hitting in a bigger area, but I rarely ever use this mode myself personally. You can also pick up a Tommy gun, or what the game likes to call the James gun. Dang, I thought this guy only directed movies, but this man also has a gun named after him?
I guess that's how you know you made it in life.
Jokes aside, the James gun works like a standard machine gun. It has a lot of strong firepower and it has plenty of ammo to help clear out the small room of guys, but it also has a secondary fire mode that has you spreading your shots all over the screen to hit major targets. I kinda think this is more of a rapid fire, but I'm not really sure. Either way, the James gun ended up being another favorite weapon of mine, as the gun constantly would be able to clear rooms, and did lots of damage in a fast manner, I may add.
I'll stop going into more detail about the guns themselves, not just so that you guys can experience them yourselves, but because I really didn't end up using the other guns as much.
You do get some heavy hitting guns and a few guns that are visually fun to see, but the guns I mentioned are the primary guns that I used the most during my playthrough, and to be honest, probably the strongest weapons in the game. It just felt like the Devarnisher and the James gun were the guns that would deal out the most damage in a quick amount of time, while the Meiser and the Boomstick could clear out a small group of enemies. And the game just constantly litters you with so much ammo that you'll not have to worry about running out. If you find yourself low on one gun, just switch to the other, and after exploring about a minute, you'll find more ammo for that gun and it'll be ready for your next encounter. That's not to say the other guns are bad, it's just for my playthrough, I would mainly default to using these for the most. And when using other weapons, they just didn't seem like they did enough damage to warrant their use, and that's a little sad to say. There's also a gun that I feel like should have been unlocked a lot sooner, as you don't get it until way late into the game. And that's the freeze gun. This gun can freeze your enemies the longer you fire a beam of ice at them, but this weapon was hardly used, and I think part of the reason is because of how late you ended up getting this gun. Another weapon you can get is one by playing baseball. No, not literal baseball, sadly. The card game baseball. I'll explain more about that in a moment. But after winning 20 times, you'll get this gun called the Demousifier. A ray gun that doesn't feel like a ray gun at all. It has a small amount of ammo, and doesn't deal enough damage to balance the use of ammo. The sad part about it, you can't even upgrade this gun. If this was a gun that was upgradable, I could totally see this being on par with the ray guns in Call of Duty Zombies. But here, it just feels way too weak, and honestly a big letdown for a reward.
I think personally the guns are just way too unbalanced. The developers are constantly hotfixing the game, and sometime later down this year we'll be getting some DLC for the story, so we might have some more balanced guns by then. But as it stands right now, some guns are just way better against your enemies, and some just lack in firepower.
Speaking of enemies, let's quickly talk about the different kinds you'll be running into. One of the first kind of enemies you'll run into are these guys with baseball bats. They'll be your standard melee crook, and later down the line, you'll run into versions that will also have shields. Another type of enemy is your standard merc with a gun. This can range from enemies with shotguns, machine guns, and a special version that will snipe you from far places, and can teleport to another location if you start getting too close to them. The last one I want to cover is the tank enemies. These guys will constantly charge after you, and will hit you with some heavy punches. They do have a higher health pool, but most of the time they're not really much of an issue. In fact, because of how seemingly easy the game felt, I turned the difficulty up from standard mode to the hard mode and still never really had much issues with the challenges. The only few times I truly died in this game were due to me messing up on a few platforming moments, or not really focusing on my health bar. Oh, I should cover that by the way. Health along with a few other items can be picked up all over the locations that you explore. You can find health bottles placed on the ground which will give you a small bit of health back, and a medical box which will heal you for more. Another type of healing item that you can pick up is cheese. By picking up a slice of cheese, you can use it at any time to quickly heal yourself in a tough situation. You can stack up to 9 of these and they're relatively common. They're not as common as regular health drinks, but they're great to have in case you're starting to get overcrowded. There are also armor pieces that you can find all over the place as well. Armor will protect you from most attacks from enemies, but will not fully protect you if you're on fire or burning from acid. You can pick up armor pieces from these little helmets, or these little body armor pieces that are usually found on mannequins. Speaking of items that you can get, I should also mention that there are certain areas that will have these hot peppers that you can pick up to give all your weapons fire damage. Other areas will also have some special events that will have you gain super strength, or switch your weapon out for a finger gun. A callback to Cuphead, I'd take it, but for some reason I just remembered the Dead Space foam gun more. Other kind of items that you can pick up in this game range from cash that you can use at the item shop for ammo, and other collectibles mainly found in secret areas around the levels, like the newspapers and comic books that help give the game some background lore. These figurines that also have a fun little animation tied to it, schematic blueprints that you can use to increase your weapon's abilities, and these baseball cards that you can use to play at the bar. Oh right, I gotta talk about baseball. Baseball in this game is played in 2 rounds, which the game wrongfully calls innings. It's instead 1 full inning as you start off playing as the hitter and the opponent will be your pitcher. You'll both have 5 attempts to score before the game is over. From the cards that you collected either from finding them or buying them, you'll have a deck of hitters and pitchers that you'll be able to play every time that you start the game. After getting a certain amount of cards, you'll be able to ban a few cards from play, but besides that, the cards that you find throughout the game will be the cards that will be in your deck. The way the game is played is by the numbers on your card. If your player's card has a higher number than your opponent's card, you'll get a hit. If it's 3 numbers higher, it'll be a home run. You can also use a modifier card that increases your chances as well. If you've ever played War with a deck of cards, it's practically that but with a few added steps. Some characters also have running stats and field stats. If a runner is on base, they'll advance a certain amount of bases every turn. You can stop them from advancing by using a pitcher that has a higher field number. If the number is even or higher than the runners, they won't advance and sometimes they will deny a runner from getting on base. But if it's shorter than the runners, the runner will go a few bases less than what they had on the card. After winning a game of baseball, you'll be rewarded with these coins that you can use at the machine, and after collecting 20 of them, you'll get the special gun that I mentioned earlier. I will say, the card game was fun, but if they attempt this card game in the future, I hope they can add more special rules and modifiers for the game. I'd love it if we could make our own decks, and if there's newer modifiers that could affect the field, like rain clouds that could affect the field, or even head coach cards that could give your team a rally boost. That way this game can be a little more fleshed out and be a little more unique. Oh, and if you end up tying with the computer, just immediately quit the match. You don't get any reward if you lose or tie by playing this game, and you won't get any of your money back either. But with all that aside, Malice PI is a game that is visually fun and a good time, if not easy for the most part. You shouldn't have much trouble playing this game if you've played Doom shooters before. But you'll also be in for a good time if you love the 1920 style of cartoons with the many different callbacks to classic cartoons, or from other forms of media that this game pulls from.
But what do you guys think? Do you guys agree with my opinions about Mouse PI? Let me know down in the comments down below, and also tell me what your favorite part was in this video. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and if you enjoyed this video. And also share the channel around, as it helps build a community of fellow nerds that also haven't seen this channel before. With that said, thank you guys again so much for stopping by. Hope you guys have a fantastic night, day, wherever you guys are. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care, everybody.
And so with another game finished, Gaming Guy stared out into the sky and smiled, as he knew his next adventure would end up taking him to the most cheesiest rock in the universe.